Yeah, because I feel like right now there's not a lot you can do with just two. Like I feel like you have to get four games, and then you can really kind of see what's going on, and then still not be right. But
Dude.
I think you got to get to four before. But I'm not a hot take machine. That's other
Yeah,
people.
that's another thing. Yeah, we're like too humble and realistic sometimes. Not necessarily realistic when it comes to me talking about some of this stuff, but yeah, we're not like aggressive saying
Mhm.
shit just to say shit, but
But again, that from the jump, that's been the whole idea is that it's more of a like we're just commenting all this stuff, like pointing out these things you do with that information, what you want. But here's what
right.
we think, like it's not,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's never been like advice. It's just like thought provoking,
Hmm.
documenting our thoughts and
Hmm.
agree or disagree. As long as you're thinking, then that's what we're about.
Yeah.
The old rough draft research mantras.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for dynasty domination. How are we doing over there, Daniel?
We're doing good, man. Some dubs in week two, some
Yeah,
wins. It's
yeah,
just the fantasy season is unstoppable freight train, man. Once it's rolling, you're just along for the
unstoppable
ride.
roller coaster for sure. The highs and
Oof.
lows. Nick Chubb injury, one of the lowest points, I think, in the last few
Yeah,
years. I think that's tough.
it's tough, man, for sure.
That's a bad one. But we are back. It's week two. If you were here last week, you pretty much know the routine. I'm going to be coming at you with the rookie roundup, and I know Daniel has some new segments prepared for us. Do you want to get into those now or save them till later?
Oh my goodness, new segments prepared. Yeah, I guess I'll do it. Why not, man?
Okay.
Why not? I love it. So yeah, I've got a few segments. So normally I do the multi TD madness
Hmm.
and the truth about targets. We'll get into those a little later. I kind of wanted to start with just looking at surprising stars and fading flames. So
Okay.
it's just one of those things where we can't predict everything. In fact, sometimes it feels like we can't predict anything. So I'm just going to look at a few guys that are inside the top 25
Hmm.
as far as fantasy performances so far. And I don't know. We're going to see. What do you think? If it sticks or if it might fall off. So after that, we'll get into guys that were drafted in the top 25 that are currently outside the top 50. And some of them are way outside. But without any further ado, here we go. We got Puka Nakoa, man.
Yeah.
Dude, this guy's insane. I don't even have to tell you guys 15 targets in the first week, then 20 targets coming
Mm.
off in week two, like a 36% target share. Matthew Stafford is just firing the ball to him like
Hmm. And
instantly.
he's producing on it too.
Yeah,
That's the thing. Is like if he's getting targeted like crazy and not really doing much, we're not talking that much, but like 147 yards on 15 targets or
right.
on 20 targets. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I just you got to ask the question like is this how it's going to be for him for the rest of his life? Because I'm looking at like the sleeper projections and like starting week 5, they got him under 6 fantasy points.
Hmm.
And I mean the truth about it is that he is in that Cooper Cup role, that hyper targeted, hyper catch rate. What
Hmm.
happens when Cup comes back? Are they going to split that kind of workload? Or is Matthew Stafford going to go straight to Cup, and it's going to be like, man, remember when Puka opened the season with 35 targets in two
Yeah.
games, and then he fizzles into a backup sort of role, you know?
I think like most things, and it's the unfun answer, I think it'll be a happy in the middle because as much as Puka is playing that Cooper Cup role, he is playing 59% of snaps in the slot, or not in the slot, in outside, I mean, which is
Right.
opposite of what Cooper Cup did.
Sure.
So I don't think there's a realm where they can't be on the field and coexist at the same time. I mean, we were a few months ago talking about Van Jefferson needing to pop
Oh
because they
yeah,
need a wide receiver too.
for sure.
Now we have Puka Nakua, yeah, and
Yeah, sorry about messing you up on that forever.
no, you're okay. So yeah, so like I think they can coexist. I mean, we saw even Puka with Tutu Atwell. They both produced in week one. Like there's room there for two guys. It's just not going to be 30 points a week. Now,
Right.
is Puka going to be that guy going forward because Cooper Cup is on the wrong side of 30 and injury prone sort of now? Like maybe that his future might be astounding. But like, yeah, right now it'll probably go back into the middle. He'll be like a
Robert Woods
top,
esque.
yeah, top 24 wide receiver, like top teens wide receiver. But
I'll
not
take it,
this
dude.
hyper. Yeah, I'll take it from a fifth round rookie, fifth round, right?
Absolutely. Um, yes, I'll just agree with you. Fourth or fifth. Yeah, I'm just worried he won't be the first read, but it's
Mm,
okay. I think it'll be fine. But sticking on this team, we've got Kyron Williams, dude.
mm,
Like this guy is blowing up in a big way. And the questions are okay, yes, Cam Akers is with the Vikings now, right?
mm.
So that's
Wild.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so far, Kyron Williams only has 52 yards both weeks, and he's coming off of multiple scores in both weeks.
Mm.
So how much, is this red zone number or, like just getting the touchdown numbers boosting his fantasy value?
Mm.
Is that sustainable? Do we believe in him as an actual rusher now that he is the unquestioned lead back in this backfield?
Mm.
Oof, it's just this one I'm excited about, but I'm not as confident as far as the staying power on it.
Yeah, I'm not hyper confident on the staying power. I could see LA making a move to acquire another running back,
Sure.
potentially maybe not somebody that is going to supplant Kyron Williams, but certainly someone that's going to take the time away from him. We've seen Sean McVay operate. He doesn't love going with just one guy typically. So I don't know. Yeah, like the production hasn't been crazy. It's really just been about the multiple scores. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm not hyper into it, but like, I mean, for the value you would have got him at, definitely take a swing.
Oh, for sure, man. I'm with you on that. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I'll just keep rolling on the list here. We've got Nico Collins, dude. Nico Collins is doing very
He
well
looks
right
good.
now.
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of the product of I mean, back-to-back weeks with the Texans in the top five as far as pass attempts, man. They're
Mhm.
really letting CJ Stroud just cut loose.
Yeah, they are.
And I think it's fun, man. I think that this was a wide open wide receiver room. We touched on that a little bit last week, kind of what's happening, what's going to happen, and Nico has always been a guy we've been interested in. But I mean, if this is how it's going to be, like 40 plus attempts every week, like it fits for him to keep it up, man. We know he's a talented guy, so it's
Yeah,
good.
and now I mean we are a dynasty podcast, so we're looking at the
Sure,
guy who's going to be attached to CJ Stroud. Like we know Robert Woods isn't going to be there forever, and uh we have no idea what John Mechie is going to end up looking like. Tank Dell looks like a player. So
for
like
sure.
you can get one of these two guys that are going to grow up with CJ Stroud and it could be a really, really nice pairing.
Yeah, nice thing about most of these guys is they're like affordable ish,
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
probably not Kyron right now, probably not Puka at all right
Hmm.
now.
Yeah.
But some of these other guys we're gonna get into, I'd say so. My next guy up is Brian Robinson Jr., dude. Uh
What's going
look at
on?
us. Yeah, swings and misses. This one feels it feels weird to me. I was really like team Gibson, have been
Hmm.
since like Memphis, let's just get it done.
Hmm.
Um, but so far he's only got 5 carries and 4 targets on the year. So this is not a committee. This is not like go with the guy who, is a proven receiver. This is like Brian Robinson's backfield 100%. And he is just taking the job and running with it, man. It's looking pretty damn sharp out there as far as power and size and the speed go. Like he's looking like a real deal out there. And it's kind of crazy, man. These guys are 2-0. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, big time.
But
The offense is humming with Sam Howell.
yeah,
Humming might be an exaggeration, but they look better than they did last year, and so does Brian Robinson. And
yeah, it
I mean,
does.
it's apparently time to just set the ship sail on Antonio Gibson because Washington doesn't care about him. And you know what? I'm not going to be the guy who buys into him when Antonio Gibson's on a new team next year. I've seen this movie before. I'm just moving on. I'm just going to give up on it. That
Yeah,
dream
he's
is
in
dead.
Devin Singletary type
Yeah.
of era, so we can get out of that. Dude, what about Raheem Mozart? What the heck?
You
What is
know,
this?
I, I'm I'm scared to say it's gonna stop because I still think Miami will require a running back, but like I don't know what's going on down there. They just keep exploding.
Dude, his runs are so explosive. The
Hmm.
burst is insane. It's like 0 to 60, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
And with the way the receiving game runs, it's gonna be light loads on as far as the defensive looks. So
Hmm.
I don't know, man. As long as he keeps getting those opportunities, he's going to
Might be
be
hard to
breaking
stop.
off big chunks. And
Yeah.
once he gets up to speed, he is frisky, man.
Yeah.
So that's been a lot of fun to watch. Miami's been hitting the primetime games pretty hard. So
Yeah.
hopefully we got to keep watching that. Maybe A-Chain will get in there one of these years,
That'd be
but
fun.
I
Doesn't look
don't know,
like this
maybe,
year.
yeah, maybe not betting on it. Okay, and then this one, I imagine this is my last guy that has unexpectedly inside the top 25. I got Jordan Love, dude.
Mm.
What the hell? Back-to-back games with 3 touchdowns on 15 or less completions.
Yep.
That's not normal.
No, it's really not. But it is kind of like how Green Bay likes to do it. Like Rodgers never put up the crazy yards or attempt totals that other quarterbacks did. He was just deadly at scoring touchdowns, and that's what Jordan Love is doing right now. Now, I'm not saying they're the same at all. Uh, the offense, I honestly think we're due. I don't. It may happen this week, but we're due to get smacked. I think this offense is just up and down, and it relies really, really heavily on protection. Like when Jordan Love is protected, which he is quite often, our offensive line is really, really strong. He looks good, but he still misses the odd throw here and there. But he knows where to go with the ball. He's very confident. Like he's not scared to throw the ball. Like the fourth down attempt, the last throw that he had, it ultimately didn't get caught. But if you go back and find like just a little clip of that throw, that thing is a laser into like not coverage that, and it could have absolutely been caught. So this dude's got the the stones to do it. It's just with the hits and misses here and there and the like unfluidity of the offense. I just think one of these days, and probably a few times because it happened a lot under LaFleur. Occasionally we just get smacked, you know. And I feel like because like yeah, 15 or less completions, 115 yards, but 3 touchdowns and no picks. He
Right.
looks good. I'm not complaining about it at all. It's just you're right. It's not very sustainable. So one of these weeks he's going to go 125 yards for a touchdown and 2 picks, or a touchdown and a pick, and that's just going to take him out of the like highness of where he is now. But I'm not complaining at all for a guy making his second start and about to make his first home start. Like I'm okay with it. He looks good to me.
Oh yeah, man. Well, more power to you. You got New Orleans coming up, right? So
Yeah, they got really, really good pass coverage. So
it'll be good. It'll be fun. Okay. Well, now, it can't all be good news.
mhm.
I only have 4 names here on the top 25 that are
Ugh,
outside the top 50.
they
And
hurt.
and I'm just gonna say them out loud and let the words come out. Um, Jamar Chase, it's currently player 156 in the
Mm,
PPR world.
sick.
Yeah, and I'll just tie that in with T Higgins is at 63, um, which like doesn't really sound bad, but it's bad
Bad.
because he had a goose egg on 8 targets in week 1,
Hmm.
and it took him getting into the double digit target realm in week 2 to get any sort of production. He got double touchdowns on 12 targets in his second week, and he's still outside the top 50. So it's pretty nasty. Um, I don't even know what to say. Obviously, I am a huge Burrow fan. Just
Hmm.
ask my friend Master Chief; he knows all about it. But we'll see if this team can bounce back. It's gonna be a little
Yeah.
scary.
Well, with the calf injury with Burrow
Yeah,
and the offense, they just, I mean, they don't look good right now. Like, there's no other way to really say it. They just look dysfunctional, and how much of it is the injury, how much of it is whatever, you know? It doesn't look great. I think they will get it. I believe in the Bengals. Obviously, if Burrow misses extended time, we'll see. I don't know. They would presumably still just try to feed their top two guys in Chase and Higgins, but we'll see how that can go with when Burrow wasn't even able to get it done. It's
right.
not a good look right now. I've heavily invested in Chase, so I need him to turn it around.
Yeah, the team's not looking their best. This is it's hard to say this is like who they are. So
Yeah, it's week 2.
it's a long season, and we'll
Mm.
see how it shakes out. Um, but yeah, AJ Brown is ranked 112th.
Oof.
So yeah, he's on the same target pace as he was last year,
Hmm.
around 140 targets. But yeah, at this point, he's just got no touchdowns. He had 11 on the season last year,
Hmm.
so we really need to see him get to that point. Um, yeah, this offense has been a little. This actually, the whole Eagles team looks like it's
Well,
still getting up to speed. Really,
so that was we mentioned something about like, okay, Jalen Hurts only threw 21 touchdown passes or whatever it was last season. If that comes to back to earth at all, or like doesn't get going, that can go down because that was a huge amount of AJ Brown's production. Now, obviously, he had way more yards
yeah.
than we were thinking, but like that was a big part of it. And so if
Mhm.
that doesn't start coming, it seems like they're more focused on the ground again. But again, it's week 2. You never know.
Sure. Yeah, especially like the ground game hasn't been super consistent.
Hmm.
Swift game was
Swift
pretty
is,
cool.
yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, I traded him, so I guess I'm probably gonna regret that, but we'll see how it goes.
Maybe.
Last guy on the list is Josh Jacobs, dude.
Hmm.
So he's 137th, coming off of a negative 2 yard rush game. Um,
Oof.
it's like, yeah, everyone, I don't know. People are panicking. I don't know if I'm panicking. The thing is,
Okay.
he actually seriously has more fantasy points at this point after 2 weeks than he did last year after 2 weeks,
Okay.
which blew my mind. But yeah, he got a slow start. He's getting like targeted a lot more than he had been in previous years. So it's promising, but it started out slow for him, and then he hit a bunch of like 140-yard games. So I think there's definitely time for him to get up to speed. I don't know. Do we give buy low advice on this podcast? Because I think
Sometimes.
I think Josh Jacobs might be a good guy to go for.
Okay.
Um, his matchup this week is against the Steelers, and so far this year they've given up the most fantasy points to running backs
Hmm.
out of
Would
all
not have
teams.
guessed that.
Now, keep in mind that that was Christian McCaffrey and then Jerome Ford slash
Uh,
Nick Chubb. So uh, take it with a grain of salt, but still, I mean, the door is open for them to allow him to kind of establish himself closer to what we'd expect from him. So, but yeah, man, with all that is my cool new segment. It's come and gone. Um,
okay.
And I
Yeah.
guess I don't know. I've got a second one here. If you want me to just roll straight into it,
Yeah, let's do it.
this will be a quick hit. This comes right off the hills of that Josh Jacobs mention. So I
Okay.
did look at like fantasy points allowed by
Hmm.
position and the teams. So just to give us a little bit of a preview, what do I call it? A perfect match slash fear the future. So we'll see what it goes down. So Pittsburgh, as I mentioned, Carolina is the number 2 team
Hmm.
that's facing allowing the running back fantasy points, and they've got Seattle this week, and
Hmm.
we've got pretty much Kenneth Walker's looking pretty awesome. He just had a multi TD week. Looking pretty strong, so that might be a good place to look for some optimism. But then on the flip side, the Cardinals, and then the Browns are facing the 2 worst defenses that are holding the running backs back in Dallas and in Tennessee. So I know James Conner got a touchdown. Everyone's excited about Jerome Ford. Might
Hmm.
be, you
Bad
know, it
week
might
one.
be, yeah. It's not like, no regret or whatever, but it could slow down their momentum as far as
Hmm.
the fantasy hopes and dreams go. Um, yeah, but then in the tight end room, the teams allowing the most are Philadelphia and Miami.
Mm.
Um, and both of those teams have played in New England so far, so that might have something to do with it. But you got Tampa Bay going against the Eagles, so maybe Otten might have a good week. And then Denver versus Miami. I don't know if that means anything. Adam Troutman. So this might not be the week for those stats. But facing tough tight end defenses, you got the Titans and then the Packers. So
Hmm.
maybe Chig might still not be getting up to steam like you want him to be. And Musgraves, I know I still trust him. So we'll see what
Okay.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just gonna keep rolling,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, go for it. I'm
Uh,
digging the info.
hell yeah, the quarterbacks, teams allowing good games for the quarterbacks. You've got Philadelphia and the Chargers. So
Baker and
ironically,
Kirk.
yeah, dude. So so Baker's got Philly. Obviously with those weapons, it's probably going to work out for him. I love what
Hmm.
Mike Evans is doing. Me 13, baby. I'm still a me 13 guy. And then you got Kirk Cousins up against the Chargers. Like he's probably a big reason why Philadelphia is in this category as far as allowing big games to quarterbacks. So I think
Hmm.
he's probably gonna go big time, man. With the Chargers start 0-3, that'd be rough. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Jeez. And then the
Brandon
teams
Staley.
that dude, yeah, that's gonna be rough. The teams that are not giving quarterbacks a good runway are Dallas and Cleveland, and they're
Mm.
facing the Cardinals. So that's going to be rough.
Yep.
Dallas defense still a league winner apparently, and then you got Cleveland against the Titans. I trust Cleveland in a big way, so that's going to be fun to watch. No optimism on that side of it, but in the wide receiver room, it gets a little interesting. The Chargers defense has given up big points, and that's big Miami week 1 did that to them. But they're facing Minnesota, so like that's kind of
Oof.
goes with the Kirk Cousins thing. Like the door's wide open for that to be a huge game for
Monster
them.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I think that's
Second
gonna be.
most points to quarterbacks, first most points to wide receivers.
Yep,
That's a deadly combo.
just getting into it, man. And then Indianapolis has given up good games
Say
so
Flowers.
far. Yeah. So, and that was to Houston and Jacksonville, which, obviously the volume's there. But yeah,
Hmm.
Zay Flowers could be good. It could be maybe Mark Andrews. I know he's a wide receiver in my book. So I'm giving him the nod on that, but looking for that. And then some teams that are holding down the passing attack is Carolina. They've got Seattle. And so, that momentum they got with that overtime win could
Hmm.
be, hitting a little bit of a brick wall. We'll see how that goes. But like I said, the ground game is wide open if Seattle wants to go that route. And then you got Dallas. Like Dallas is just locking everything down defensively right now. So they're
Hmm.
facing the Cardinals. We weren't really getting too optimistic about what Hollywood Brown could do, even though he is coming off a double digit target week.
Ooh.
So just telling you, This is all tying, it's all weaving a basket over here for you. But that's
I
it. That's
like it.
that's all my new segments.
Okay, well, I dig it, man. Yeah, those are gonna be some interesting matchups. So load up your Vikings and
Yeah.
load up your Buccaneers, it seems like, a bit, which is not what you would think going up against Philly. But
Yeah.
well, all that being said, you want to get into the rookie roundup?
Hell yeah, man.
All right. So if you missed it last week, we got three categories. I'm thinking about renaming the final one. Maybe we can get some comments on what to rename it from possible studs, but we've got additional info needed, promising usage, and for now, possible studs. Um, the reason I want to change it, just for the record, I want to do maybe something more like possible hits or something like that, because like not everybody needs to be a stud, but if you get a hit out of your rookie
Mm,
draft, that's a really good thing. And then you can have varying levels of hits, obviously like your Bijan Robinsons, but whatever. That's just probably going to cut that, but whatever. So let's get into the quarterbacks. Only three of them really to talk about rookie wise, and we've got additional info needed still on Bryce Young, 153 yards and a touchdown, QB 25 on the week. You know, I I just feel like most of his throws are incredibly difficult and super well covered. Like it doesn't seem anytime he has an open look, he seems to nail it every single time. Like the accuracy is there. He seems to hit it. It's just that he doesn't have a lot of those. Like everything seems to be very tightly covered. He's always kind of running around for his life. I just don't think he has enough opportunities right now. But if he could get the protection and get some separation from his receivers, I think he'd be all right. Like he's having some struggles. He's not getting in there quite yet. He had another fumble that was picked up. He could have had a pick with Adam Thielen running around, which is kind of my point, I guess, is that Thielen probably could have been more open if it was Thielen from 4 years ago. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So there's just more information needed on Bryce Young. It's just Carolina's in a mess right now.
Yeah. Needs to get
So
that Mingo connection, man.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, he'll come out. He will come
Oh shit.
out.
Oh shit.
So moving on to promising usage. We don't have any because CJ
What?
Stroud is a possible stud. This man is going
Yeah,
off right now.
yeah.
47 passing attempts, no training wheels, 384 yards, two touchdowns, QB 13 on the week, no interceptions. He just looks poised to me, man. Like the Colts got up early, to be fair. It was like 21-7 at some point. Stroud just hung in there. He kept slinging it. They never really had a chance, but he was hitting the wide receivers well. He's made Nico Collins into the guy that we thought we would. Tank Dell looks like a player. Hit the move he made on the touchdown score between him and CJ Stroud. That was a nice little move. Like they've got some pieces, and it feels like when Stroud is clean, he can read the field super well and kind of just like Bryce Young, he hits it. Ironically, he's actually getting more pressure than Bryce Young. He had 19 pressures this week, 6 sacks. That was the same in terms of total pressures as Bryce Young this week, but he has 44 total pressures and 11 total sacks through 2 weeks. CJ Stroud does. And he's looked like the best passer of the three rookies by far. And I just think we have a potential franchise guy in Houston.
Oh yeah, man. Maybe that line gets a little healthy and they could really take
Mm-hmm.
off.
Yeah, that's what they should focus, which is ironically like one of the major things that seems to hamper all these young quarterbacks, and then some teams never get it fixed. So hopefully they don't do that to Stroud, but right now I think they got one.
Heck yeah, man. I love that.
So moving on, the other possible stud is Anthony Richardson. If he could stay in a game, at one point he was projected 31 points. He just went off, not necessarily through passing 6 of 10 for 56 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns on the ground. That was before halftime. Looked
Wow.
absolutely electric. He has to improve as a passer, but the playmaking ability is already there. And I think what we talked about all offseason, the pairing with Shane Steichen cannot
Yeah.
go understated to me. And I think it's working so beautifully if he could just not get hurt. It's a concussion, so like it's serious. Obviously, I don't want to downplay, but it's not like his knee or anything. So like hopefully he can even play this week because man, he's fun to watch. That second touchdown run was on I don't know if you saw it, but it was on like a little play action reverse type thing where he kept the ball. it tricked the cameraman. It tricked me for a second. Like everybody thought that was a reverse, and then Richardson just started taking off up the right side of the field. He threw a ball away with his left hand at one point, but it was like a
Nice.
perfect spiral out of bounds. Like he
You
literally
gotta
just
love that.
like he just
Dude, he looks like he's having fun, man.
he's playing a game, and it's awesome.
I like
And,
watching the Amazon where it's just got the dots, and on
mhm,
that reverse touchdown, it's like
yeah,
everybody. There are only like two defenders on that side of the field, and it was
because
and
everybody
then
went that way. Yeah,
yeah, but it's not like that. He doesn't have to do that because his other one, he like threaded the needle and weaved through everybody.
yeah, we've
It's
straight through
incredible,
three
man. And they're
people.
all
Yeah.
like over 15 yards out. Like they're
Mhm.
not, they're not Jalen Hurt little pushers. There's some
Yeah.
real balling going
Yeah,
on.
dude, he is. Oh, it's fun. If we get a full game out of him, and obviously week one, we basically did. He went out in the fourth, but yeah, I'm excited. He's got me, all my Anthony Richard stock has me really, really pumped right now, for sure. Moving on to running backs real quickly, additional info needed. Zach Charbonnet got a little more work than last week. The key here is 26% share compared to DJ Dallas's 13. That's a big jump from last week. That's what we want to see. Kenneth Walker still the guy right now. We're slowly working in Charbonnet, 5 total touches, so good to see. Tank Bigsby was promising uses last week. Now he just 0 touches despite being healthy and scoring a touchdown last week. I don't know what's going on with that. Dearness Johnson only got 1 carry, so like it was basically the ETN show. But that's just a weird one. And that's 2 weeks in a row where it's basically an 80-20% snap share between ETN and Bigsby. So just we need more information there.
For sure.
Moving into promising usage, but not necessarily promising production out of our first guy. Sean Tucker, 8 attempts, but only 7 yards. That's not great. Averaging less than a yard per attempt. That's not a good time.
No.
24% snap share is good, though, still for undrafted guy coming out of here. But on a day after a week where we talked about Rashad White and we were losing faith in him, for him to look as good as he looked
Yeah,
and
he
Tucker to
popped.
look like nothing, basically, that's not good. I mean, it's week 2. You never know what's going on, but that was an interesting flop there. Second guy in promising usage, it's Tajay Spears, man. He's in danger of getting moved up. Henry sat out this week during
Yeah.
practice, injured toe. If Spears ends up being the guy, I mean, you highlighted they're playing Cleveland, so it might be
hmm
tough for him to get going with that run defense. But I'm willing to put Spears in there if he came in and had a good game, averaging over 6 yards a carry right now. It was even a much more normal split from the previous week where he out snapped Henry. It was 70% to 37% Henry over Spears, but he still 8 carries, 49 yards, two catches. Like he just looks like an animal, man. Like he looks really shifty, but with the burst shows every time he manages to like get away from some people. And I'm really excited for whenever he gets his opportunity to be the guy in Tennessee.
Yeah, it looks like it might be coming quick.
Yeah, it'd be neat to be able to see him in year 1 as a full-time starter. Um, Moving on to possible studs. Bijan needs his own category, to be
Yeah,
honest. He just is a
fully
stud.
studded.
Yeah, dude, and if you haven't seen it, check out the aerial footage where like there's a camera above that follows the ball. I don't know if you've seen that on the run where he just made the entire Green Bay defense look silly. It's a really cool footage. And he just murders everyone on the field every time. It seemed like every time he touched the ball, he got a first down on Sunday. It
Oh
was
yeah.
crazy. He just
Hell yeah.
completely looks as advertised. Moving on though,
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs, I still think is a potential stud. 7 attempts for 17 yards. That's not great production. 9 targets though, leading the team. That is awesome. And I'll be honest, man, like a couple of those catches could have popped. I feel like they had a plan for Gibbs' speed, which isn't great considering like it's year 1. You should be unpredictable right now, but seemed like they just made some really, really good tackles in Seattle. Like there were a couple of those catches that I feel like if he was half a step quicker, or if the guy was a half a step behind him, he would have been gone for 20, 30 yards. So it's there. Like I can still see it. You can see exactly what they want out of him. And now David Montgomery's going to miss some time. I
Yep.
think now is really when we're going to see Gibbs start to heat up.
Yeah, man. I'm excited about that. Yeah, the yards per carry definitely weren't as consistent, but it's coming, man. It's
Yeah,
coming.
I think so too. It's also coming for our next possible stud, I think. And it's still Roshan Johnson. 4 attempts, 32 yards, 2 targets, 2 catches for 10 yards, RB 38. Not quite the highs of last week, but Donta Foreman was a healthy scratch. And the split was 42% of the snaps for Roshan Johnson and 60% for Herbert. But Herbert only had 8 touches to Roshan's 6. It's not like they believe in him so much more, and Roshan still looked better to me than Herbert. So I don't know. I think Roshan is going to be the guy by the end of the year in Chicago. I don't know if that means, and he's kind of the one when I think about changing the name of this category, is because I don't know if it means I think he's going to be like a top 12 RB, but I do think he'll be like top 24 potential for sure.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna stew on this. I like naming stuff weird things, but I
Okay.
can see, yeah. He's definitely an in-between.
Hmm. For sure.
I don't even know if that qualifies as promising usage, but in
Yeah,
the
the
grand
four
scheme
attempts
of
doesn't. Yeah.
the
I guess
percentages are there for sure.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I went with it, that he is kind of dominating that room. Not dominating it, but I feel like he will be soon. Moving on to wide receivers, additional info needed. This might sound like a weird one, but I still have Marvin Mims here. He had 113 yards and a touchdown, but it was only on 2 catches and two
Yeah.
targets. Beautiful 60-yard touchdown. Absolutely gorgeous. No questions asked there. But he was still outsnapped by Little Jordan Humphrey and Brandon Johnson, and he
Yeah.
only had 2 targets. And we've seen these type of guys, these huge big play guys that come out of nowhere, and there's a big scale of them. And right now, it's like, well, is Marvin Mims going to be John Ross or is he going to be Deshaun Jackson? Like I know that's an oversimplification, but on only 2 targets, it's like, okay, next week, if he only gets 2 targets again, do we really think he's going to turn that into 113 yards and a touchdown? Probably
Probably
not,
not.
you know? So that's why I still have him kind of in this area, but it is awesome to see the talent pop. Like you were right that we should never have put Trey Palmer above him. But
Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Shit.
moving on to somebody that maybe needs his own category, and it's a red shirt category. It's Quentin Johnston, man. Two
Oof.
targets, same as Marvin Mims, but only 7 yards. 15% snap share. That's even less than Marvin Mims. He had like a 28%. So just he's not on the field. Like there's nothing else to say really. He's not on the field enough to make a difference. Which is, and on the one hand, not a good sign, but also it's year one. We've seen guys not pop, but in this age of the young wide receivers popping, it is weird to see and disheartening for sure.
Yeah, especially that draft capital, like what's going on here. But
Hmm. Yeah.
that's all right. We give him some time.
Yeah. He deserves time for sure. Few years, obviously, but all right. Moving into promising usage. Mentioned him earlier. Tank Dell, man, 10 targets, 7 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown. You could argue you could put him in possible studs if you wanted to. Super electric. I think size might have got us again there, Dan.
Yeah.
Because he just, I mean, it is going to take him getting speared by somebody and him not being able to recover from it. But 79% snap share. He's on the field all the time and like he's shifty, man. I really enjoy watching him. I was watching the CJ Stroud tape and obviously he just kept popping.
Yeah, man. Did it with the Cougars too. So keep it
That's
real.
fair. Next up we got Jackson Smith and Jigba. Was still outsnapped by Lockett and Metcalf by about 15 or 20 snaps. But had just as many targets as DK Metcalf with 6. So it's not like they're keeping him out. And even you could think that's even more ridiculous because he's not on the field as much, but he's still demanding the same amount of targets as these other 2 guys. So clearly they see him as the future, but just right now we got to keep him in promising usage.
Mm.
Um, Gonna go on to Jaden Reed. Big game this week. 2 touchdowns. Oh, I even have it wrong. I have it marked as one, but he had two.
Yeah, for
Eight
real.
targets. Only 37 yards, but still only he was only on the field for 56% of the snaps, but that actually had him as the second wide receiver. And he doubled the targets of the next closest wide receiver, which wasn't even Romeo Dobbs. That was Dontavian Wicks.
Oh yeah,
So kind of a weird game. Like you said, there were only what 15 or
14.
less, 14 at pass attempts. So I think Watson coming back is going to determine a lot about how this Packers offense looks. They need him. It's very clear, I think. But the Packers want to get Reed the ball, man. Like they did the little pop pass to him. That was his first score. They're targeting him 8 times a game. Like he looks great. I think he's going to be a really good player. I just want to see like when Watson's back, how that all shakes out.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun
Mhm.
because I feel like Watson represents a, another dimension on
Mhm.
this past game, and it's like, well, if we can do all this, kind of underneath, just kind of possession receiver type roles with these guys, then what happens when we get our superstar in the mix, and
Exactly.
like that stuff becomes easier, less.
Because he's taken the top off of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. And I think they can get it done. Moving on to another Colt. We got Josh Downs, promising usage, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 37 yards. Still third on the team in terms of snaps, 75% compared to Alec Pierce's 100% of the snaps. But second on the team in targets compared to Alex Pierce's 2. He had 5. So it's clear who they want to get the ball. Obviously, it starts with Michael Pittman, and that's great. That's good. He's great. So keep doing that. But it does seem like they want Josh Downs to be the number 2 guy there. And then moving on, the last guy in promising usage, I actually think they might want to be the number 1, and it's Jonathan Mingo, man. 8 targets, only 3 catches and 17 yards. That speaks to me earlier saying that everything that Bryce Young is trying to throw right now is difficult. But
Yeah.
8 targets, second on the team for the second straight week, but he was on the field for 98% of the snaps. He's the wide receiver 1 there. Like he already is. It's not Terrace Marshall. It's not Laviska Shenault, even though Frank
Hell
Reich's talking
no.
about getting him more involved. And it's certainly not Adam Thielen. He might be helping Jonathan Mingo, I think, tremendously with his veteran presence, but he's not the
Sure.
guy there. They are trying to make Mingo the guy. And I think it's not really going to work this year, but I do have high hopes for him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. Just Mingo's game to me at the college level, it was kind of nuanced, and it didn't really seem like it was like a day one translatable
Mm-hmm.
into the NFL. But the way he just mixes his like route running and his moves with his speed to get a guy to bite and then break free, like that, you're not going to walk in and just start doing that to pros day one, especially when your team's trying to treat you as the number one and the defense might be as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's going to take some time, but yeah, you're right. I like what he's got to bring to the table, and it seems like Caroline wants to make it work as well. Moving on to possible studs. Jordan Addison looks great. 5 targets, 3 receptions, 72 yards, another touchdown. KJ Osborne still massively outsnapped him, 97% to 69. But
Mhm.
Addison's closing that gap. And again, just like I said last week, it makes it worse because Addison outplayed him again massively this week.
Oh my good.
Osborne did not have a great game. That's back-to-back weeks with 50 grades from PFF. He's already got 3 drops, and he just, I mean, I know he got a touchdown on Thursday night, but like he just did not look that great to me. He did not look like the same guy I saw last year. And in fairness, that's like all the Vikings I watched was Thursday night against the defending NFC Championship team.
Mm.
So like with a grain of salt. But I don't know, man. Like I just Addison, I think is going to take over there really soon.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's just gotta keep Hawkinson out of the red zone
That's
usage,
true.
trying to
Yeah,
get our
that's tough.
fantasy studs spreading it out there, TJ.
Yeah. Speaking of red zone usage, though, Zay Flowers has 5 targets in the red zone with no touchdowns. Expect
Wow.
that to change eventually because everybody else on the team combines for a total of 2 targets in the red zone. So clearly they know who they're trying to get to the ball to when they get down into the red zone. Hasn't worked. I think he has like -6 yards in the red zone. So
Ouch.
like it's not going great so far, but they are attempting to do it. So I do think that number should go up. And Odell got hurt again. TBD on like how long that's going to be. But Zay Flowers was already leading the team in snaps for wide receivers with 77% of them. I just think he's going to continue to be the guy there, no questions asked. And then Puka Nakua, we already kind of talked about it. 20 targets, 15 receptions, 147 yards. Wide receiver 2 on the week. There's not much more to say. Like we already talked about how we feel about Kupp coming back. And so really just one quick little fun stat about him. He's third in first read percentage, according to Fantasy Points data online, with 44.8% last week of the snaps being intended for him in the first read. And just for fun, I wanted to read the top 10 of their list. Number 1 was Devontae Adams with 51.9% of the snap was of the plays were being the first read. Garrett Wilson was number 2. Puka was number 3. Jacoby Myers was number 4, ironically. So 2 top 5s coming on the same team. That was kind of cool to see. AJ Brown was the next guy. Michael Pittman after that. Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, and DeAndre Hopkins. So these are the type of guys that we're talking about Puka being in the same realm of. So it's just, I'm getting hyped.
I guess you can put Hunter Renfrow in a body bag, huh?
Yeah, it seems like Renfrow is definitely done. That was a fun season though.
It was a fun season.
Moving on to tight ends and additional info still needed on Michael Mayer, but really additional info is needed on the Raiders because they have 4 total targets to tight ends through 2 weeks. So are we even going to pay attention to the tight end in Vegas or what's the deal here?
Should have taken an offensive lineman instead.
Yeah, what is the deal? Yeah, like if you're not going to use him at all, this is baby Gronk, right? Like what are we doing? We need to get this guy involved, but until further notice, 1 target for 1 catch and 2 yards is not going to get it done. Moving on to promising usage, we got Luke Musgrave. He only had 3 targets, 2 catches, 25 yards. Doesn't sound great. Most of the production came off a little rollout to the right with Jordan Love, and then you just kind of toss it to him. But you can see the explosiveness out of Musgrave as soon as he caught the ball and turned around. Like it's just exciting to watch. And if they can get this kid going, I think he can really develop his game. So I think he's going to explode at some point this year. But like I said earlier, I do think the Packers offense is also due for a smacking. So like kind of polar opposite views there, but I do think Musgrave is going to have a big year or a big game where he declares himself as a viable fantasy option this season. Along with him, Dalton Kincaid, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 43 yards. Josh Allen fed both the tight ends on Sunday. Knox and Kincaid, between the 2 of them, got 11 targets. Knox caught the score, but Kincaid had way better yardage and productivity, really. But I mean, we've been saying it all offseason. We think Dawson Knox is going to be a thorn in Kincaid's side all season, but I do think the future looks bright. Clearly, Josh Allen loves him. So
that's good.
All right, and we do have a possible stud at tight end this week. Sam Laporta probably should have been in there last week, but he did make it this week. 6 targets, 5 receptions for 63 yards. He was the tight end 8 for the 2nd straight week. And nobody's touching him in Detroit. He was dominating the snap count. He was dominating the targets for the tight ends. He was 3rd on the team in targets, even back-to-back weeks as a top 10 fantasy tight end. So, yep, I'm ready. I'm good to say it. Laporta is going to be definitely a hit in terms of fantasy production for a pretty decent amount of time, I would imagine.
Yes. Some of us are very excited to hear this. I really like Sam Laporta, so it's good when good things happen to the players I like. You know, it doesn't always go that way. But man, we're getting into some fun stuff, man. They're really getting these guys on the field a lot quicker than they used to.
Yeah, it's fun. This rookie roundup would be a lot less interesting a decade ago.
Oh, yeah, maybe like second year roundup or something. But well, let's see. I'm going to touch on my multi TD madness.
Okay.
It's be probably pretty quick run through, but you guys should know that we had 14 this week, whereas last week there was only 10, and 13 of those 14 are new players. Touched on our only repeat was Kyron Williams. So good job. This time he did one as a pass catcher as well. But all of those were inside the 10-yard line. But we have some surprising names. A lot of them have been sprinkled into the conversation thus far. But you had Jaden Reed. Both of those were tight red zones. Tony Jones Jr., man, with the Jamal Williams missing the second half of that game. And yeah, Kamara still one more game suspended. I know that Kendre Miller's full go in practice this week. But Tony Jones, dude, he had 2 1-yard touchdowns. So that's going to be what happens. Brian Robinson, man, he had the 2 touchdowns. One was on the 2-yard line. One was from 15 yards out where he like jumped over a guy on his way in and looked slick. So keep an eye on that. We touched on Raheem. He had a 43-yarder where he just like shot out the barrel, and then 8-yarder where he just beat him to the edge. Just incredible stuff. Yeah, one guy that's given Sam Laporta some problems is Josh Reynolds. He had some really nice snags, dude. A 4-yarder and a 22-yarder looked incredible. And then fucking out of nowhere, man. So this guy is undrafted out of the University of Central Florida, in case you're just learning that, like me. But Brandon Johnson for the Broncos.
Yeah.
So he had a nice 16-yard touchdown, and then like we all saw that Hail Mary was like the bobble right into his hands, and then they couldn't get the 2-pointer to tie it up. But so that's some wild names, man. Some guys literally hearing about for the first time in Brandon Johnson. So, but in your to be expected list here, you got Saquon, which he had an 8-yard pass and a goal line. And then T. Higgins had 2 inside the 5. Kenneth Walker, both goal lines. Tyler Lockett had 2 inside the 10, including the game winner there.
I love that Anthony Richardson is already to be expected. Multiple
Oh,
touchdowns. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
I know,
go.
man. Like I was saying, 15 yards and 8 yards. Like he's earning them, man, especially compared to a lot of these guys. He's really earning them. No one's really putting in that kind of work. Jalen, yeah, you had them 2 pushers. And then inside the 5 was for both of Hawkinson's, and it was red zone for Keenan Allen as well. So you're not seeing a lot of like big breakaways except for that Raheem Mostert. I mean, the next best thing is getting a Hail Mary and then a Josh Reynolds 22-yarder. So these guys are just getting consistent work in the red zone, and that's the secret to scoring, apparently. I did want to touch on, since I was talking about like opportunity, there are some teams that have given up multiple multi TD scores, whatever that means. But yeah, Carolina and Houston are giving up a lot of touchdowns on the ground, both weeks. Through the air, Philadelphia has given up multi TDs both weeks, and then a little bit of a mix on both weeks of Chicago, Denver, and Seattle. So these teams are allowing it to happen. Use this information however you'd like to. But yeah, it's been pretty interesting. As far as my double-digit targets go, we're down to 15 from 17 on week 2. And there's only 4 repeats. We'll start out with the repeats. Obviously, Puka Nacua. I mean, shit, dude. We got that. We understand now. Justin Jefferson, this comes as no surprise. He's rolling in with 13 targets. Michael Pittman, 12 both weeks. So that feels good to see that happening. It's good to note that's 36% of the target share. I'll roll back through anybody that got over a third teams, but the last guy to Repeat was Chris Olave,
Ooh,
who had 11, so he's barely making it in there. But there was some makeup stuff going on here. Like Christian Kirk, he got 14. He
that
was
was
number
nice.
2 on the
That was
list.
good to see.
Yeah, man, he only had 3 targets in week 1, so that feels good. We touched on T Higgins, goose egg week 1, 12 targets, end up with double touchdowns. Good for him. Tyler Lockett, man, that week 1 was like a very gridlocked, like 5-6 targets for all the guys. He popped up to that 10, so it's good to see him getting a little bit of respect over there. And then you got Kyron Williams. He had 10 targets. He is the only non-wide receiver on this list this week.
Wow.
Yeah, which is crazy because last year through the first 2 weeks, we had a total of 7 non-wide receivers doing this, and that was 5 tight ends and 2 running backs. So Kyron is joining Zach Ertz as being, one of 2 guys that's not a wide receiver getting the double digits. So it's kind of a different kind of look to it, man. But yeah, as far as guys that are getting at least a third of their team's target share, you got George Pickens,
Nice.
which is weird because he only had 10. And like that's a third. Yeah, Pittman I mentioned. CeeDee Lamb, dude, 34%. That his first couple drives was like all CD. That was a really interesting game. I already talked about Kirk. That's right at a third, and then Puka. Like that was 20 targets, only 36% target share. That's wild to me. So yeah, it's pretty promising. Keenan Allen made the list. Hollywood Brown's on there. Tank Dell, we've already mentioned, he's made it on there. Amari Cooper, who apparently was going to play the whole time. And then Mike Williams is on there after only having 5 targets in week 1. It really felt good. The Chargers are getting into that passing game stride that we were all kind of looking for. But yeah, man, nothing crazy. I just like to keep an eye on these guys and see how consistent it is. But that's your your double digit target share, your double digit target number guys for week 2. Holy smokes.
I like it, man. Yeah, we got to keep an eye on these numbers. Guys are scoring the most and guys that are getting the ball the most are typically the guys that score the most fantasy points. I don't know if I'm breaking any news for anybody, but yeah, keeping an eye on who frequently does this stuff is a really good call.
When you see guys, like Tank Dell, he hasn't really found the end zone or anything. So it might be a buy low still. Like there's still opportunities within these names, especially, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you guys anything you don't know, but if the unexpected guys start to heat up, you can always get them before their value peaks for sure.
Truth. Well, there you have it. That is the end of week 2.
Nailed it.
We will be back here just like we always are for week 3, coming at you guys again. So like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you want to hear from us. If you have any questions for us, please hit it up in the comments. But until then, we've been Rough Draft Research. You've been the audience, and we'll see you next time.
Deuces.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Took a lease out